It was one of those nights where the world feels paused. The streets weren't busy, the air wasn't loud, and nothing seemed urgent. Streetlights reflected off empty roads, stretching shadows that didn't move. Whatever had happened earlier, the music, the conversation, the normal flow of life, was already fading. A car moved through the darkness, faster than the silence around it. There was no warning moment, no dramatic buildup, just motion followed by impact. After that, everything slowed down. Not in a cinematic way, but in the real way things stop when something irreversible happens. The kind of silence that doesn't end when the noise does. No one that night knew how far the consequences would reach, or how long they would last. One decision, made in seconds, would quietly separate life into before and after, without asking for permission from anyone involved. Who Marcos Alonso was. Before that night, Marcos Alonso fit neatly into a familiar football narrative. A young player born into a respected football family, surrounded by legacy, expectation, and access, but also discipline. His development followed a clean, structured path. Training grounds, youth systems, gradual progression. Coaches saw reliability more than risk. Clubs saw long-term potential rather than immediate stardom. Nothing about his rise felt chaotic or reckless. He wasn't chasing attention, and attention wasn't chasing him. His name appeared on team sheets, not headlines. To the outside world, he symbolized continuity, another generation carrying forward a football surname with professionalism. His public image was calm, controlled, and predictable. He showed up, trained, played, and improved. The future looked open in the way young careers often do, full of possibility but free of warning signs. At that stage, there was no reason for fans, media, or football institutions to look beyond performances, minutes played, or statistics. Everything about him moved comfortably within football's usual rhythm, until suddenly that rhythm stopped. The night itself is preserved in facts, not drama. A car accident occurred. Marcos Alonso was driving. A young woman was seated beside him. The impact was severe. She did not survive. There were no public spectacles in the moment, no crowds, no cameras waiting. Just emergency response, official procedure, and documentation. Authorities arrived and recorded what they could: timings, conditions, results. Tests were conducted. Statements were taken. The language remained neutral and clinical, because systems are designed to handle tragedy without emotion. No graphic detail is necessary to understand the weight of what happened. One life ended abruptly. Another continued forward, marked by that moment. The night did not pause for reflection or interpretation. It did not offer space for explanation. It existed as a fixed point, something that could not be undone, reframed, or softened with time. From that moment on, everything connected to that night would exist in fragments. Legal records, memories, and long stretches of silence, rather than closure. The aftermath. After the accident, the situation moved into formal channels. Legal processes followed, defined by court decisions, paperwork, and official outcomes rather than public emotion. There were consequences, restrictions, and resolutions that existed within the system's boundaries. Outside that system, however, the response was noticeably quiet. The case did not dominate the news cycle for long. It did not remain a recurring topic in football discussion. As time passed, attention faded. Matches were played. Transfers were announced. New stories replaced old ones. Football, by nature, kept moving. For many supporters, the incident remained largely unknown. For others who were aware, it felt unresolved, not because facts were hidden, but because the subject rarely surfaced. There were no ongoing debates, no repeated confrontations with what had happened. Just distance. And over time, distance has a way of flattening serious events into background noise. Silence didn't erase the aftermath. It simply surrounded it, allowing everything else to continue uninterrupted. The contrast. While the memory of that night remained unchanged, Marcos Alonso's career continued to advance. He signed for major clubs, competed at the highest levels, and became part of successful teams. Stadiums filled with noise. Commentators spoke about reliability and consistency. Matches blended into seasons. Trophies were lifted. Applause became routine. From the outside, his professional path appeared smooth, uninterrupted by what came before. Football rewarded availability, performance, and results, and those boxes continued to be checked. With every new achievement, the contrast sharpened. A tragedy fixed in time existed alongside a career defined by progress and momentum. The sport made no visible effort to reconcile the two realities. It didn't need to. Football is built to prioritize what happens next. Success carries its own gravity. It pulls attention forward, leaving uncomfortable history behind. In this environment, movement matters more than memory. And so the distance between what happened that night and what followed on the pitch continued to grow. Reflection. This story isn't about delivering a verdict. It's about sitting with discomfort, about noticing how systems behave when performance continues without interruption. Football is designed to celebrate recovery, focus, and forward motion. It rarely slows down to reflect on what remains unresolved. Responsibility doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it appears quietly, through processes that don't invite discussion or reflection. Silence becomes its own kind of conclusion, not because questions are answered, but because they stop being asked. When stadiums are full and seasons keep turning, difficult moments fade from view. This is an invitation to notice that gap. The space between tragedy and applause. The way success and absence can exist side by side without colliding. Not as judgment, not as accusation, simply as reality. Football moves on quickly. The uncomfortable question left behind is whether moving on also means forgetting, and what gets lost in that silence. There is no conclusion waiting at the end of this story. No statement that ties everything together. The night remains unchanged, preserved in records and memory. The career remains defined by matches played and trophies won. Both are real. Neither cancels the other out. The silence between them is where the discomfort lives. Not everything demands a verdict. Some stories exist simply to be acknowledged, not resolved. Football prefers endings that celebrate achievement. Life doesn't always provide that structure. So this story ends without answers, without judgment, and without closure. Just a reminder that progress does not erase the past. It only moves around it. What remains is the space between what happened and what followed. And that space is intentionally left quiet.